The Fable of the Dragon Tyrant. Once upon a time, the world was tyrannized by a great dragon. The dragon stood taller than the largest cathedral and was covered with thick black scales. Its red eyes glowed with hate, and from its terrible jaws flowed an incessant stream of evil-smelling yellowish slime. To satisfy its enormous appetite, 10,000 men and women had to be delivered every evening to the foot of the mountain where it lived. The misery inflicted by the dragon tyrant was incalculable. In addition to the 10,000 gruesomely slaughtered each day, there were mothers, fathers, wives, husbands, children, and friends who were left behind to grieve. To fight the dragon, priests and magicians called down curses and spells to no avail. Armed with roaring courage and the best weapons their smiths could produce, but they were incinerated by its fire before coming close enough to even strike. Seeing that defeating the tyrant was impossible, people had no choice but to obey its commands. Spiritual men sought to comfort those who were afraid of being eaten by the dragon by promising a dragon-free life after death. They said,
"It is part of the very meaning of being human to end up in the dragon's stomach."
Over the centuries, the dragon slowly but steadily grew bigger. 10,000 bodies were no longer enough to fill its belly. It now demanded 100,000. To facilitate this process, the king had a railway constructed. Every 10 minutes, a train would arrive at the mountain terminal, crammed with people, and would return empty. There were registrars who kept track of whose turn it was to be sent, collectors who would be dispatched in special carts to fetch the designated, clerks who administered the pensions paid to families who were no longer able to support themselves, and comforters who would travel with the doomed, trying to ease their anguish with spirits or drugs. Dragon-related expenditures, already accounting for 1/7 of the economy, were growing even faster than the dragon itself. Over time, many wondrous tools and systems were developed. Some of these devices made it easier to generate and try out new ideas. One of the sages went so far as to predict that technology would eventually make it possible to build a contraption that could kill the dragon tyrant. He demonstrated that the dragon's scale could be pierced. Engineers calculated that a large missile could penetrate the dragon's armor. However, the manufacture of the materials would be expensive. A group of dracologists sent a petition to the king asking for funding to build the anti-dragon missile. Regrettably, when the petition was sent, the king was preoccupied with a tiger which had killed a farmer and disappeared into the jungle. Over the passage of time, the king's army had killed 163 tigers. However, the petition was sent again. Unfortunate reports came in that a village was suffering from a rattlesnake infestation. The king rode off to defeat his new threat, and the anti-dragonist appeal was filed away under other dusty petitions that had been sent to the king. The anti-dragonist resolves to take the matter to the people. They travelled around the country and gave public lectures, explaining their proposal to anyone who would listen. At first, people were skeptical. They had been taught that the dragon tyrant was invincible, and the sacrifices it demanded were a fact of life. Yet when they learned about the missile, many became excited, and soon citizens flocked to the anti-dragonist lectures. When the king read about these letters in the newspaper, he summoned his advisors. A meeting took place in the largest hall of the royal castle. The hall was packed. The king gave the floor to the chief moral advisor.
Getting rid of the dragon would deflect us from realizing the aspirations to which our lives naturally point. I tell you, the nature of the dragon is to eat humans, and our own nature is truly and nobly fulfilled only by being eaten by it.
The audience listened respectfully to this speaker. His phrases were so eloquent that it was hard to resist the feeling that some deep thoughts must lurk behind this.
The dragon is bad!
Let the boys speak. Did the dragon take your granny away?
Yes, Granny promised that she would teach me how to bake gingerbread cookies for Christmas. Then those people came and took Granny away to the dragon. The dragon is bad and it eats people. I want my Granny back.
There were several other speakers this evening, but the child's simple testimony had punctured the rhetorical balloon the king's minister had tried to inflate. The people were backing the anti-dragonists, and by the end of the evening, even the king had come to recognize the humanity of their cause.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of freeing the world from the ancient scourge of the dragon tyrant.
As the news spread, celebrations erupted in the streets. Dracocide became the #1 priority. Mass rallies raised money for the project and urged the king to increase the level of state support. An anti-dragon missile was simple in concept, but to make it require solutions to 1,000 technical problems. Test missiles were fired but fell dead to the ground or flew off in the wrong direction, but eventually a prototype missile that had been successfully tested and production of the shell from the composite material was underway. The launch date was set to be the following year's New Year's Eve, exactly 12 years after the project's official inauguration. The day was cold and overcast, but there was no wind, which meant good launch conditions. The king was observing from a platform close to the launch pad. Large numbers of the public had assembled to witness the great event.
The last train! The last train! Stop the last train! Please! Stop the last train, please!
His face looks familiar. I wish to speak with him.
The young man was a junior clerk in the Ministry of Transport, and he had discovered that his father was on the last train to the mountain. The king had ordered the train traffic to continue, fearing that any disruption might cause the dragon to stir and leave. The young man begged the king to issue a recall order for the last train, which was due to arrive at the mountain terminal 5 minutes before time 0.
I'm sorry. I cannot take the risk.
Stop the last train, please!
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes, we did it. We killed the dragon today. But why did we start so late? This could have been done 5, maybe 10 years ago. Millions of people wouldn't have had to die. Forgive me. Please forgive me. I'm so very sorry about your father.
Do you remember 12 years ago in the castle? That crying little boy who wanted you to bring back his grandmother. That was me. I didn't realise then that you couldn't possibly do what I'd asked for. Today I wanted you to save my father. That was impossible for you to do without jeopardising the launch. But you have saved our lives.
Listen to them. They are cheering me for what happened tonight. But the hero is you. You cried out. You rallied us against evil.
My dear friends, we have come a long way, yet our journey has only just begun. Today we are like children again. The future lies open before us. We shall go into this future doing better than we have done in the past. We have time now, time to learn from our mistakes, and time for the slow process of building a better world.
The ethical argument the fable presents is simple. There are obvious and compelling moral reasons for the people in the fable to get rid of the dragon. Our situation with regard to human senescence is closely analogous and ethically isomorphic to the situation of the people in the fable with regard to the dragon. Therefore, we have compelling moral reason to get rid of human senescence.